This is dangerous. But what are you doing? Hey everybody, and welcome to another video. And this video is about one particular sawmilling job that really pushed me to my limits. I was on a fairly tight schedule to get this job done, and I had every possible thing go wrong. Super frustrating, and I learned a good lesson of always expect the unexpected to happen. But anyway, before we head right into today's video, I figured since this is my first video in a very long time, a lot has happened in the past year or so, and because of that, I do think that a super quick recap is in order. So, at the end of 2021, my woodworking business finally took off and I was able to quit my job and do this full time. Already I had a fairly decent sawmill that I used primarily to feed myself and my business with nice lumber, but as time went on I slowly began expanding my sawmilling capabilities. And let me tell you, this has proven to be quite a challenge. First, I needed way more space. And having enough space is super important. You can produce a whole bunch of lumber really quickly with a sawmill, but then it needs to be stored for long periods of time as it is air drying. So clearing land and getting usable outdoor space has been a big thing for me. I've been working on that off and on for a good amount of time. And then about 6 months ago, I purchased a Woodmiser LT20 and I had an absolute blast running that thing all summer. So I already had my chainsaw slabber, which takes care of all the big logs that come here. And now having a bandsaw for all the smaller stuff has been very nice. So at first glance it would seem that things are going pretty good. But honestly, I still feel like my little sawmill business here is in its early stages. There is still so much stuff that desperately needs improvement before I can actually do this successfully. And as the year of 2023 was coming to an end, this oak job came in. And I figured it would be my last job before I shut everything down for the winter, but it had to be finished and delivered within a week. And at that time, I still had a bunch of work inside the wood shop as well that also had tight deadlines. I did schedule half my work day inside the wood shop, and then the rest of the day I would work on getting this sawmilling job finished on time. So that was my plan at least, and now let's take a look at how it all went down. Well guys, winter is coming, and as always, I'm unprepared. Two things need to happen before I can actually begin sawmilling. And first of all, this thing needs to start. I have to get the engine warmed up. As that's warming up, I'm gonna move over to the sawmill because I've noticed that it needs a little bit of adjusting. The sawmill bed is not perfectly flat. And I also need to check it for squareness. Okay, let's not break any bones. Okay guys, so all of these first 3 or 4 bunk beds, or whatever you call them, they're all perfectly aligned. However, this third to last one is that's the one that's giving me the issue. It is sitting higher than the rest of them. It's a fairly straightforward process. You just loosen up a few bolts here. So now I've got those loose. Ah, I see. It's a big one you need to turn. So this machine is from the mid-60s, I believe. And it does take some TLC to get it going, especially when it's cold outside. The big issue is not the battery, even though it needs charging every time I want to use it, or else it's just not enough juice to turn the engine over. There's an engine heater here. It sits on the coolant hose right there, and it worked fine for the first year I had this machine, but then I think what happened is the little pump inside there, it burnt. So I haven't tried it in ages, and I don't think it's gonna work, but you know, I might as well give it a go here before I completely condemn it. It doesn't really sound that good. Maybe did it blow the fuse? The more you look, the more problems you find. Now, so this thing is, which was initially higher, is now sitting perfect in line with all the others. But as we come over here, you can see it immediately bumps into this one. So I'm gonna have to lower that one as well. So there, it just slides over without bumping into it. So that's good. Let's check the other side as well. That's nice. Well, the engine heater definitely needs to be replaced. It was just making a little bzzz sound. Not the most energy efficient way of heating up an engine. But that's all I got for now. I'll let it run for a while. We'll see if it makes a difference. So now the straight edge is sliding really nicely over all of the bunks here. And we've got a nice break in the weather now, so now would be the perfect time to hop in the loader and get out there on the pasture and trying to get those logs. It's actually pretty warm. Jesus. You guys know the drill. Door's gotta come off. Sawmill is in such a bad spot that unloading and loading logs is just a pain in the ass. I've got two of them here. Two of them are sitting behind the loader, and I can do two at a time. There's just not enough space here to turn and load multiple logs. I can hardly even load one. So the customer wants 3 meters of length and 40 by 40 centimeters. The logs need to be a minimum 57 centimeters in diameter. That's, assuming it's perfectly straight and doesn't have any taper. So I would say the absolute minimum diameter is 60 centimeters. And so these are just above that. So hopefully we will be able to get those 40 by 40 square. And yeah, let's just get started. So this is the first cut I make, and there's a nail right there. Why? Not just one nail, but two nails. Yes, thank you. Oh, it's a really old one as well. It's like one of those old forged nails. Whoa! That's not what I was meant to do. Not really too custom with the controls just yet, I can set this now to cut 450 millimeters from the bed up, which should leave us 5 centimeters on either side to, fine tune it. It's gonna be really difficult to meet these requirements of 40 by 40 centimeters. Not a single piece of live edge remaining. I mean, the log's gotta be huge to begin with, even in order to even get close to that. I think this might actually work out. Oh, this is so difficult. It is either this face or this face. Both of them have live edge. So we didn't really make it. We almost made it, but not entirely. Well, this isn't quite turning out the way I was hoping. As if anything ever does. So what happened is I got stuck out in the pasture. All the snow came in overnight, and yeah, I still have 3 more logs to go fetch, and I don't have a loader. As soon as something out of the ordinary, like snow, heavy rainfall, anything like that, I just have to shut down basically. All of these problems, in order to fix them, they're big jobs, you know. Either I gotta spend a lot of time doing them, or I gotta hire someone and pay them a lot of money. So either way, time or money has got to come from somewhere, and right now it's really difficult to get any more spare time. I'm already maxed out, you know. Today I'm a little frustrated, not feeling too happy about this. I don't really know how this is gonna turn out. So this is the last one for today. Then I gotta wait to come up with a plan to get the loader unstuck and somehow get the last 3 logs. Tonight we're expecting even more snow, so I don't have a good feeling about this. Yesterday I was feeling kind of defeated after getting the loader stuck in the mud. Luckily, a neighbor of ours was able to bring his excavator late yesterday evening, and we could pull it out of the mud and go get the last remaining logs to complete this job. I'm so grateful for my neighbor who was able to work a little bit longer shift and do an hour or 2 over here. Now, aside from this being oak, and oak is fairly difficult to cut on this wood miser, I'm experiencing a lot of dipping and diving as soon as the blade gets a little bit dull. But aside from that, I really do think that it performs really well, having the hydraulics, being able to manipulate the logs back and forth and slowly make my way down to the desired dimension. So that's my little intro for today, and let's just start milling again. I don't know if you can see what the angle the camera's looking, but it is twisted and curved, bent, bowed. It's gonna be kind of difficult to get something that's straight out of this one. I'm gonna try and rotate it and see if I can take off some more. Why are you rolling the other direction, you idiot? It's kind of ironic, as I was just 10 minutes ago praising the power of hydraulics. Now I gotta go in here with a little log turner. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Pull this out manually, get this little guy to grab onto the wood. I can't really see what I'm doing. Rut! Rut! What? This is dangerous! But! But! Rut! Rut! Kom! Rut! Bra! What are you doing? That little mistake right there cost me a whole bunch of time wasted in trying to retrieve that log. So instead of having another go at that particular log, I decided to continue cutting the other logs that I already loaded up at the front of the sawmill. To get oak logs this big in my area, they almost always have to come from urban areas. That's where they grow short and wide, which means you get logs that, in addition to being somewhat oversized for this band sawmill, they're also full of bumps and branches that make them a lot more difficult to manipulate. And last but not least, you can always expect metal to be buried within the tree. So it's not a question of if you're going to hit metal, but rather how much. Well, that's it for today, guys. Somehow this day turned out even worse than yesterday. Temperature has now dropped below 0. So today everything is frozen. I was worried that all this wet sawdust was gonna be frozen solid on the sawmill track. The sawdust is frozen, but not to the extent that I was worried it was gonna be. It's still fairly easy to get it off. You can see some of the sawdust is frozen to this post here. It's not super good because these aluminum angle things is what the rollers on the saw head rides over. So I don't want this to be too lumpy bumpy here. Maybe just get rid of some of that. And also this little limit switch here, I like to keep that somewhat clean as well. You know, just wipe it off after every time I use the sawmill. Daddy was yelling at you yesterday when you were standing on those other logs as this one was about to tip over. I sensed some danger and I wanted to protect you, but you didn't listen. And this is that log that came off the sawmill yesterday. So I'll give it one more chance. If it doesn't want to cooperate with me, then you will be ending up in the burn pile. Gonna put this last blade on here. Hope I don't ruin it. It's okay if I do, because yesterday I received a box of 5 more of these. But I really like this little moment here of putting the blade on, tensioning the blade. You can have yourself a little cup of coffee. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the little snowflakes, the snowfall. Not too bad, even though I do hate it. I did forget about something yesterday. So this is now full of ice. And this is my fault, because you should put something like windshield wiper fluid or some type of antifreeze or something together with your water to prevent it from freezing. We'll see how much of a pain in the ass this ends up being. Finally got the water flowing. I had to thaw it up a little bit. Now the big challenge with this oak log is just getting the bumps and lumps off of it. Once I've reduced it a little bit, gotten most of the bumps out of the way, it should be able to roll a lot easier on the sawmill bed. Why? I don't want to tip it over again, please. This is sketchy. I mean, this is really sketchy. But I got a few tricks up my sleeve, you dirty little bastard. Now what? Oh. It's that same exact spot again where it doesn't want to grab. Oh, that's what was giving me all the issue yesterday. This little trick seemed to work yesterday. Just giving it something to grab a hold on. There we go. Lumps and bumps, be gone. You know, if I wasn't worried about not getting those 40 by 40 square, I would be taking slabs off of this thing as it sits right now, just to reduce it down. But since I'm also trying to get some kind of a measurement out of this that is really difficult to achieve, then I have to be really careful and take my time. That looks like a good place to start again. And it's funny, I have more wood in the burn pile than I do at the actual lumber pile. That's where I put all the little boards and slabs that come off of these logs that are actually usable and might be worth something. It's all super low grade, but it's still wood, so. I thought I heard a very familiar sound just now, somewhere around this region, and I was right. So far every log has had at least one nail, and most of them has had multiple nails. This face looks like it has potential, so we can only take a small, like a 1-inch slab off of this face now. Now typically the material that I have the most use for in my woodworking is 1.5 or 2-inch thick material. For tabletops, slabs and those kinds of things, I like to go up to 2.5 or sometimes 3 inches depending on how big of a log you have. 1-inch thick material is I think best suited for just small cabinetry, console, furniture, those kinds of things. But this actually looks fairly decent. The quality is not too terrible on this one. So this will actually produce some fairly high quality stuff, at least throughout here. There's a little branch over there, but from here to here, we do have some really nice wood actually. So this time it made sense to grab ourselves a little bonus board. Now all I'm really worried about with this log is I've kind of accepted the fact that on this half of the log we are not going to be able to get 40 by 40. This half, however, we might, and that's okay because all of the longer lengths that they were asking for, they're already done. So they also wanted a bunch of smaller pieces. So 40 by 40 in 50 centimeter lengths. Now I'm not going to cut these up into small sections. That's something that they have to do. But if we can fit 3 or 4 of them in here, then yeah, it will still be worth the effort. So if we're able to get only from here to here, 40 by 40, then we will have cleared 3 of those little pieces that they need. They need a total of 10 of those. We actually got ourselves somewhat of a nice slab here. I don't know how much you can see there, but it's decent. Decent enough to keep. Ah! Stupid nails everywhere. Holy crap. Oh wow. This is going in the burn pile for sure. Off you go. finally got this job all done. And this is also one of the more technically challenging jobs that I've done, simply because the size of the logs that I had, they were just barely enough to get what the customers wanted, which was these nice uniform cans with as little live edge remaining as possible. And just the sheer size of them made that kind of difficult. I had to be very careful when laying out my cuts to try and get something square out of these lumpy bumpy logs. So anyway, here we are at the end of it. As you can see, we got everything loaded up on the trailer. This is a buddy of mine who is also a fellow sawyer, and he also joined in on this job a little bit, cutting some other stuff for the same customer. And I'm happy to say they got delivered the same day, and they were very happy with the final results. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.